1 year ago, I got the calendar invite we all dread. The out-of-the-blue meeting with all caps urgent with me, my manager, and HR. By the end of the meeting, I was locked out and no longer employed. That woke me up. This is a story of how that moment shook me into building my own company. Building a company that's about connection and about community. About the past and about our future. So, a bit about me. 2 years ago, I was just finishing up my PhD in archaeology, trading in a life of digging in the dirt, traveling the world for a life of sitting behind the desk. Until one day, a corporation decided, no, you're done with that. I had originally left academia behind because I wanted to make an impact, to affect the real world. Sitting behind a desk, I wasn't really doing either. The layoff was that moment I realized if I want to make an impact, I have to do it myself. I've always found that travel is a way to get you out of your comfort zone. It's a way to make you learn more about yourself. It's a way to learn more about the places you're going. And traveling to ancient places, touching those ancient things, it's the closest thing we have to time travel. At least for now. So I decided I'm going to build a travel company. One that's focused around community, focused around connections, focused around bringing us to those past stories that are our stories. Meaningful travel with groups that don't just want to go on dry lectures or sit on a big boring coach bus when they do get to travel. By focusing on a theme that is more interesting than just a list of dates, that helps us connect to not just the story, but to the place that we are visiting. On top of that, it should be fun. It needs to be fun. That's the whole point of travel. It's why it's so important that we're doing all this. So to start, I wanted to do a trip to Spain. Because I'd been there, I know the culture, I know the weather, and it's just a great place to travel. The story, the theme around Spain, became clear that it should be about the stars, astronomy, and astrology, and how that connects to archaeology. All of us, both today and in the past, when we look at the stars, we find meaning and it helps us think about who we are and our place in this big, wide universe. But I didn't know the first thing about putting together a tour. I spent weeks and months researching how to do this, going deep into the legal and to the insurance stuff, which is all great and not for this video, but also researching where we're gonna go in Spain, what places are the most interesting, how does this make one a coherent narrative. After all that, I put together an itinerary I thought would be pretty great. But I wasn't just gonna ask people for thousands of dollars and say, all right, giddy up, let's head across the Atlantic. So I flew to Spain for a week and I daily vlogged all about this. Through the course of the week, I learned a lot about what the trip should and shouldn't be. So I put these videos together. I think at the very least, it's a fun travel vlog through Spain, but it's also behind the curtains about how do you actually start a company like this. So I fly in to Malaga.
This is Malaga, and this is day one of me scouting out a new tour for one of our upcoming trips. It's a beautiful port town. A lot of cruise ships stop here, but it's also fantastic place to stay. There's a beautiful old town that I'm going to show some of you for a place to stay and a lot of history that's really interesting to see. I'm currently in the Roman Theater in Malaga, trying to see is it interesting enough? What is it to talk about? How does it fit into the theme of the tour? The theme of this tour that starts in Malaga is about astrology, astronomy, and the stars. One of the reasons you go and test out tour locations is to make sure there aren't things like giant construction that blocks one of the main roads. The plan is the first night begins with a sunset boat cruise. Let's see if the sunset is all that it's cracked up to be. So far the views are incredible. Very pretty, but it might be a little too windy. Overall, beautiful sunset. I asked some people on the boat if they would have liked a smaller boat, and they said it would be nice, kind of rocky. So I don't know.
So Editor Marshall here. We're not going on the catamaran. Turns out it's more expensive to charter a boat than I thought. We're gonna do what I do on day 2. So let's get into that.
This is day 2 of scouting out a new location for one of our upcoming tours to Spain. Today I'm evaluating the tour of the Alcazaba, the big castle that overlooks Malaga. I want to see how interesting the tour is, how the guide is, how we can integrate it into the overall theme of the tour, and is it a fun time?
We learned why they built the fortress, how they attacked it, walked up into the fortress so we could get to the main palace in the middle of the Alcazaba, and there were some nice views.
Overall, so there's a lot to desire, so I need to go back to the drawing board. The issue is, how do I construct a tour that has the ethos that I think is important, but really leans into the theme specifically? The story of the Alcazaba should be this reuse and beautiful building. And the tour needs to emphasize that, really focus on the context. So I'm trying to go up to the viewpoint by the castle. It's very beautiful, especially for sunset, but it's very steep. This is where you test it. Might be very pretty. Not everyone can do it. So I made it to the top of the castle viewpoint to see sunset. The question becomes, is it worth coming up here and bringing a group? It's pretty hard to get up to, but the views are incredible. Is a 300-foot climb too much to do on a tour for day one after bars jet lag? This is day 3 of researching a trip to Spain. Today, we're in Antequera, on the road between Malaga and Granada. So part of the reason you do this, you come and research. And this is a good example. It's been about 5 minutes and I've already figured out that one, taking a train, not worth it. Kind of in the middle of nowhere. So the question too is how worth it is to come to the city, even if you have to get a car or a bus or something like that. So on the second point, Antequera is actually really cool and really beautiful. It's the view of the city. It's beautiful. The only problem was I walked from the train station. So originally, I was just going to check out the outside of the archaeological site. Because it's closed on Mondays, but I want to see where it was, what it looks like. And I didn't want to check out the Alcazaba Castle because top of the mountain. Cut to. Now I just walked around the entire Alcazaba. It's absolutely wild. On top of this like watchtower, this Moorish fortress, and the nearest person is literally 600, 700, 800 feet down the mountain. There's no one here. This is my fortress for the day. This is why we travel. These are the best experiences. Getting about this Alcazaba is that it feels like exploring. There's all sorts of passageways and climbing the walls, and the view is nice. This is day 4 of researching a trip to Spain. We're in Granada. I'm evaluating a few things. I'm going on a tour of the Alhambra to meet a guide and see how it fits in the tour. I'm going to some other sites to see how we can have a full experience that really takes advantage of this beautiful historical place. One thing's for certain, a lot more hills and hiking around cities on this trip than you would have thought. In so many of these cities, you gotta be in pretty decent shape to get up the hills without passing out. One of the best experiences traveling is getting lost on purpose, but it's kind of hard to recreate that. So this might be a way to do that.
First, I went to the Basilica of San Juan de Dios, which is an 18th century Baroque basilica decorated with gold everywhere.
Extremely beautiful, but it kind of just felt like I was in art history class. There's no connection, there's no great story there.
Then was the Cathedral of Granada, which is huge, beautiful, but again, not that worth visiting, I think. I'm now in the area south of Centro, south of the Alhambra. Different vibe. I went back to being that Arabesque Moorish vibe, but way more flat and big buildings. The road between the Albaicin and the South El Centro were restaurants. A little more of that in between if you want. And then was the main attraction for the day, Alhambra. It's the most visited tourist site in Spain, and for good reason. It really does live up to the hype. Not only are the palaces some of the best examples of Islamic architecture in the world, but the views are incredible. And Nacho, my guide, made it really feel like we were walking in the footsteps of the same ancient people. And that was successful. The guide Nacho, it's awesome. I think he's gonna be a great partner in this.
This is day 5 of planning a trip to Spain, and today, we're in a car. The first step is going to this place called Sierra in the Sierra Nevada mountains to see if it's worth taking a couple-hour trip, have lunch, see the mountains.
It was about a 45-minute, pretty windy drive to get up there, and the town was very cute on the side of the mountain. Then was about a 2-hour drive to get to the next town, Gorafe.
This is crazy. This is on the route to the Dolmen at Gorafe. It's just a landscape that seems nothing like the rest of Spain. Well, holy shit. This place is amazing. This is crazy. I don't even know what I'm doing. I think this is right. What the am I doing? Oh yeah, that's one. And that's 2. Okay, so there are some here. These are somewhat cool, but so far most of them are filled in, which kind of just makes it seem like some stones. This is pretty unbelievable though. Look at this. I feel like I've done a lot of stupid travel things, but this may be in the new top 5. Wow. All right, this is the road I'm going down. Oh my God. Oh my God. What have I got myself into?
Can't really see in the video, but the road was terrifying. I passed a donkey, but I made it down.
So this was definitely very cool, but it's a little too far to be a detour for one day of travel. This is day 6 of planning a multi-day tour to Spain. Today, we're in Almeria. But here's my impression so far. If it's a beach day, it's actually not the best beach town. It takes 30 minutes. It's about a mile to walk to the beach, and the beach itself is not bad. It's similar to the Malaga beach. The town is a little bit post-industrial,
It's really more of a port town than it is a beach town.
There were these little houses for cats, so that was fun, I guess. One of the highlights for me was this old railroad track that goes over the harbor, and it's been turned into a nice little park.
Honestly, one of my biggest impressions of Almeria so far is there's too much traffic. Like I'm waiting at stoplights half the time I'm walking around.
They were headed to the Alcazaba, which was, I think, my third or fourth of the trip. Like all of them, it was quite the hike to get to the top.
A lot of cool archaeological material here. There's opportunity to see it more or hear from actual people excavating here, specifically what it's about. That'd be a great opportunity, but who knows.
And moving further up the fortress, you get to the Christian section with a tower that has a great view over the whole fortress, as well as the city itself.
Final impressions of Almeria. It's very Spanish. It's a port town. There's some interesting parts, but I don't think it's really like a relaxing day off vibe. I've come back here by myself about enough for the tour. This is day 7 of planning a multi-day tour to Spain, and today I'm in San Jose.
The theme of this tour is about astrology, astronomy, and its connection to us and the ancient world. San Jose is a small beach town surrounded by a national park in the south of Spain. That is the perfect conditions for a stargazing experience. So I came here to talk to the guide Iñaki, the nature hike that leads to stargazing, and now even some snorkeling.
The town itself is really cute. Everything's very walkable. You can walk right to the beach in a couple minutes. And we're surrounded by these natural parks. I had no plans to go in the sand, but I just had to. You know, it's hard work evaluating the sand quality of a beach. And I gotta say, 2 thumbs up.
Turns out San Jose is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. I think it's going to be a highlight of the tour. This is day 8. I'm in the south of Spain to evaluate a hotel and go to an archaeological site called La Bastida, often called the Troy of the East. The hotel is built in an old monastery surrounded by a natural park with astonishing views. It's very serene, there's gardens around, and the experience of hearing the bells ringing on Sunday morning felt like something out of another world. There's also a lot of hiking trails around, so I was able to take a 5-10 minute hike up the hill behind the hotel to reach the statue of the Virgin Mary and get a great view of the hotel and the surrounding valley. After that, I went to a special nighttime tour of La Bastida. The tour starts at sunset and then goes in the night for some stargazing. Unfortunately, I was the only English speaker on this all-Spanish tour, so I didn't get most of what they said, but even still, La Bastida was one of the best archaeological sites I think I've ever been to. They spent a lot of effort reconstructing the buildings so people can understand what the walls of the ground would have looked like as full buildings. In the actual excavations, as you walk around, they left pottery and other objects so you get an idea of what was in the ground to help archaeologists reconstruct what was there. And the feeling of being at an archaeological site at sunset does give you the sensation of being an archaeologist. And once the sun went down, they did a great job of explaining how the cosmos connects to the ancient people. It'll be a great, really unique experience on the tour. After a windy drive back, I made it to the hotel for a wonderful dinner in a pretty nice room. This is the epilogue to the Researching a Trip to Spain travel series. The tour was changed to not include these locations, so it became unnecessary, but here's a little bonus.
So far, Cartagena, the archaeology is not that interesting. It's fine, it's not that interesting. And I just don't feel like it's worth going. Really, it's 2 hours out of our way to the beach. When I say not that interesting, I don't want to fall in the trap that I'm trying to get people out of. If it's not monumental, it's not interesting. I mean more how it fits with the entire flow of the tour, and if you just have to reintroduce the idea of Rome all of a sudden. This is the Roman theater. It's closed. It closes at 2 as, I don't know, siesta, then it's don't open again. The last place I'm gonna go is outside Alicante, a place called the Canelobre Caves. So I didn't realize this cave is on top of a big mountain. That was a surprise. So here we are. That was the final stop. Pretty cool. It's 2 out of the way, but this is it. Sunset over Spain.